How we see the universe changed today. The first image from the James Webb Telescope, the farthest back in distance and time that human eyes have ever observed, several 100 million years after the Big Bang. Now, imagine holding a grain of sand up to the sky at arm's length. That tiny speck is the size that we see right here. Countless galaxies in a grain of sand. And tonight, more than ever, humanity has every reason to ask, are we really alone? I'm Brent Goff in Berlin. This is The Day. Welcome. We begin the day with a new view into the origins of the universe. It is not every day when we can start our program with an event that fundamentally alters, in a positive way, our understanding of the cosmos. Today is one of those rare moments, and we have scientists on both sides of the Atlantic to thank. The James Webb Space Telescope is the largest and most powerful space observatory ever launched, a joint project of the Americans, Canadians, and Europeans. And today they held one of the most important reveal parties in human history. Images that take the human eye into the final frontier, deeper into space and farther back in time than ever before. The light from the faintest of the galaxies in these unprecedented images originated more than 13 billion years ago. Here's more. Well, my first guest tonight is Mark McCaughrean. He's a senior advisor for science and exploration at the European Space Agency. Mr. McCaughrean, it's good to have you on the program with us today. What did it feel like when those first images were revealed earlier today?
To be honest, great excitement, of course, but also a sense of relief. Some of us have been working on this project for nearly 3 decades. I started in 1998, and to see that those dreams which we had back then of what is frankly a very complicated, very strange machine, which is now 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth, we had a dream about what it could do scientifically. And now, after the launch on Christmas Day last year and 6 months of intense work unfolding the telescope and making sure all the instruments are working, we have the validation. We now know that the doors are open to astonishing scientific discoveries.
And there were 5 major images revealed today. I'm curious, what was your favorite?
I think that's one of those questions where, you're not allowed to have a favorite child. The one we revealed here at the European Space Agency in Darmstadt was the colliding galaxies in Stefan's quintet. And of course, that's something which we talked about a lot today. And it was great to see the others, the very deep field, seeing back to the beginning of the universe, but also star formation, which is happening right near to us in our own Milky Way. And that's actually where my science interests lie. And around the end of September, beginning of October, I will be getting data back from JWST, looking at the iconic Orion Nebula, which is one of the nearest places in our universe where stars are being born today. So it was a brilliant array of great science for an entire world of astronomers, not just focused on one topic, but a huge array of stuff.
And is it safe to say that the astronomy books will now have to be rewritten because of what we are learning thanks to the Webb telescope?
Well, I think it's maybe a few weeks premature to say that. We've just finished commissioning the telescope. We've just finished getting it ready for science. As of today, scientists will start getting data that have been taken with the telescope, and every 5 days we'll be getting as much data as you saw today. By Christmas, we'll have 30 times the amount of data that you've seen today. So this is something which is going to snowball. The floodgates are open, and then we'll see. Maybe come back to us in a couple of years and ask whether we change the textbooks. But I think that the historical perspective is important. There are people who are using this telescope today that weren't born when we started dreaming about it. Mm-hmm. And there are people who haven't been born today who may use it in 20 years' time. And I think that historical span, we've kind of built a cathedral for people to come and do science in.
Yeah, that's a fascinating way to describe it. And we have to brag a little bit on the European Space Agency, because not only did you guys actually launch this telescope, but I understand you also are responsible for the extra fuel that is on board, which will allow it to be this cathedral for future generations. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the Ariane 5, which launched us on Christmas Day from French Guiana, put us on such a precise trajectory that we could save fuel for maneuvering into this location 1.5 million kilometers away. And that means more fuel for keeping the spacecraft orbiting this point. We thought we would have 10 years. We saved enough fuel to get 20. I mean, European Space Agency has also provided 1.5 of the 4 instruments on board. So the scientific images you're seeing today have actually come back through European-built cameras and spectrometers. And also we have 15 people working in the United States operating alongside their North American colleagues right now.
And you know, we report so many things about how humanity fails to work together. This is a project, as I said at the beginning of the program, where we actually see the ability of people to come together and to do something spectacular.
I agree. And I think, you said that very well. It's, there are many reasons to look at human beings and say that we're failing in our potential. Of course, you can argue, why spend all of this money on a telescope looking into outer space when there are obviously problems here on the Earth? I think it's one of the reasons to do it is exactly that. Through international collaboration, we can achieve remarkable things. And we're going to have to do that with our fight against climate change, for example, and many other things. The pandemic has been a huge international collaboration. And I think maybe if we can inspire some children to come in and think about how all of this works, not just the science, but how you build a collaboration to make these things happen. So maybe there's a little bit of hope for us there. And also maybe the insignificance which we might feel looking at over vast distances out into the deep universe might make us think, well, perhaps we should spend our very brief time on this planet a little bit more constructively.
Yeah, and let me pick up on that. I was struck by the first image that we saw today. We see these countless stars and galaxies. I mean, this is just a tiny snapshot of the universe. So 2 things come to mind. As you said, how small and insignificant we are in this vast cosmos. And in such a vast cosmos, maybe we're not alone. I mean, can I ask you, a serious scientist here, what do you think? Are we alone, or do we dare ask that question?
Yeah, that's one of the things you mentioned and we haven't talked about is in fact that James Webb Space Telescope is capable of looking at planets orbiting around other stars. And we're actually able to look at their atmospheres and look at the gases in those atmospheres and the temperatures and the chemistry and say, is that potentially a planet where life might develop? We don't have the capacity to search for life with this observatory. That needs a much more specialized machine in the future. I mean, it's a huge testament to JWST that when it was first dreamed up, there were no planets around other stars. We had never found any, and yet it's very capable in this science. So I think that idea of looking out into space and looking for places where life might exist, potential environments, more than 30% of the observing time in the first year is actually going to that particular topic. So that's a real measure of how important that is in the scientific community. And very exciting as well. Mr. Mark McCoffrin, Senior Advisor for Science and Exploration at the European Space Agency. We appreciate your time and your insights tonight, and congratulations to you and your colleagues. Good job. Thank you very much. My pleasure.